Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Yes, it's another Pleione video. Basically I'm videoing things as they turn up, and there's a little flurry of work to be done, this being one of them. So it is a work video, we are doing a repot. But there's a few other things as well. There's a channel, how's it called now? Hello Plant Lovers, I think. It's a guy that doesn't sound Australian, but he's in Australia. And there's a good video in his set where he visits a Pleione grower, basically, like a nursery, yeah, that grows them in very large numbers. So he's chatting to somebody who grows them professionally, basically. And I always sort of stop and think you ought to listen to people like that, because they've probably been doing it donkey's years and earn a living doing it. That's the difference, not just chatting away merrily, sometimes stating cobblers, because that's what you find on the internet sometimes. But yes, there were some interesting things that came out. The nursery has a woodland area where the Pleiones can be seen growing in their native environment. They stay out all year round in the ground. The other thing is they don't let them totally dry out in winter. They're growing them in large polystyrene trays, effectively, in their mix with many bulbs in a tray. Put on quite a show when they come into flower, but they don't let them totally dry out in their dormant period, so they don't let them go truly dormant, and they do okay. Nonetheless, you have to always stop and think about environments, and everybody's different, including me. You know, my environment here is a conservatory. Other people have got greenhouses. There are subtle differences between the two. Some people grow in polytunnels, you know, there's all, and some people grow in the home. And in the home there's a multitude of different environments, believe it or not, especially where light's involved. So yeah, I'm accumulating information about Pleiones and growing them and their seasonal care. And it's variable. I think it's probably the most variable of any genus I've looked into, you know, from scratch. Because literally, apart from the fact that most are terrestrials, I didn't know much about them at all. But my interest was pricked on the trip to Mathers, really. Just seeing the spectacle of the whole Pleione house and the amount of blooms and the colours and everything. So yes, so I have got some. I don't plan on getting loads and loads more, mainly because they can be pretty expensive, and often you're paying quite a lot of money for a single bulb, but they do multiply. Some are reluctant to multiply, and it's worth noting that when you're buying. If you've got a hybrid that's reluctant to multiply, you're going to get one new bulb each year, so you'll always have one bulb. Until some exceptional year when you might get two, and then you'll forever have two until another exception perhaps. But this professional grower was on about the mix, and it was a quarter of this and a quarter of that and a quarter of that and a quarter of food. Very, very high feeding. Now that's something I do plan to do, because that information has come from several different places. So I'll have some of that. If I get information that comes from one place that disagrees with everything else, I have to seriously think about it, because that you have to stop and think, are they wrong or are they the only one that's right? That's the internet for you. You got to make your own judgments a lot of the time. Anyway, I shall swing the camera around to this. I'll have to zoom in as well. Move it forward a bit, so that it comes over the top of this fan, and then drop down like that to its screen. The screen's just flipped upside down. That's better. It's only for me to see, you don't see it, but I need to see what you're seeing, if you see what I mean. So somewhere like that, and I'm going to zoom in. I'll have to adjust again. Come down a bit. There, I think that's okay. Right, so the first thing I want to show you is nothing to do with the work I'm going to do. This Pleione, which is Zeus. Now these are the bulbs that were brought in by somebody at the Orchid Society. They brought a load in, spread them out on one of the tables and said, help yourselves. Didn't want anything for them. So I grabbed 3, but these are the most advanced of the ones I've got. Yeah, so you can see the shoots are pushing on quite well now. Yeah, hopefully they'll all be flowers. And I've just noticed today there's a second one coming up there. So this bulb's going to have 2. So where there were 3, we're going to have 4. But the other 2 have only got 1. So this could be one of those that when you know, they're reluctant to produce more than 1 shoot. But one bulb has definitely got 2. But these are pushing on. And you notice they're leaning. Sorry, I keep going off camera. You notice they're leaning like that. Yeah? That's because they're heading towards the light. Now, you might want to correct that, but you've got to think what's going to happen. What are the blooms going to do? They're going to face the light, aren't they? Wouldn't it be nice to have them all facing in the same direction? Yeah? So that you can, once they come into flower, you can actually put them in a place where you can see them all. If they come out in all different directions, you're going to be looking at the back of some of them. So the fact that we're probably only going to get 3, maybe 4 blooms on here, on this type. Yeah? So anyway, those are my most advanced. And given that a professional grower doesn't let them dry out, I'm actually going to water mine today. Even though some of them still look dormant to me. But we shall see. It's a very well drained mix, basically. Water goes straight through. So it's not going to hold too much moisture. Yeah, I think I might give them all a drop of water and see if it encourages them to start growing. And then we can keep that for future reference. Anyway, that's the one that's most advanced. So we'll pop that back where it goes with its tray. Right, now back to the work. And the reason. This little one here is the only species I've got. This is formosana, which is the one that, if anybody's got species, this is probably what it is. It is quite a common one. Probably in the wild as well as in cultivation. It's an easy to grow one as well. So, but anyway, what we've got in this little pot here is a bulbil. There on the end of my finger, tiny little bulbil. Then we've got the shriveled bulb from last year and the bulb that flowered last year. But what I have noticed is it's pushing up 2 new growths, one that side and one that side. And now that I can see the new growths, it would be silly to leave that in that pot, because those new growths are going to be right up against the edge of the pot and there isn't enough room for them. So they need to come out. Now I didn't bring my tray in because I can just hoover up the mess. There's not going to be much. This is good. So now you can see what this came from Burnham's at Wisley last year. Now you can see what the mix is like that Burnham's use. There's the little bulbil. We don't want to lose that. I will plant that. I mean, that's two, probably 3 years off blooming. But if it puts up a new shoot this year, the bulb at the end of this year will be a reasonable size. A bit bigger than that anyway, hopefully. So, what I thought was a second shoot isn't. It's actually a second bulb. So I'm going to separate it. So we've got a bulb here, and that has got 2 new shoots. Hopefully that's in focus now. It's the trouble, when I zoom in it's more difficult to, but 2 new growths, so that's a bulb with 2 new growths. We put that to one side. So these roots are old roots, they don't tend to live, but they're handy to help it stay in the pot when you pot it and not fall out when you water. And then we've got a second bulb which is unlikely to be flowering size because it is quite small, but then these bulbs don't grow very big, and this tiny little bulb here has also got 2 new growths. So that's 4 new bulbs and a bulbil. So whereas I thought I was repotting a bulb, I'm actually potting up 3. So there we go. I'm not going to reuse the media, but even though I know that media was fresh last spring when Sarah's got Pleiones left over from her sales few days, because they go in a few days, she pots them up to try and sell them at shows because they'll come into bloom, which is where I got mine. And those that still don't sell, she's effectively got left over. Not quite sure what she does with those, because once they grow their loop they actually take up a fair old bit of space. Right, let's make sure we stay on camera. Where are we? Here. Let's get rid of the old media. There we go. Right, now I've still got a bag of mixed up Pleone mix from the last couple of times. So we can just stick some of that straight in there. And this is the small bark with perlite and some broken up moss. Some of the moss that's here is a bit big. We need it into smaller. But the idea of tearing it up into the smallest pieces is that it distributes throughout the media much better, rather than getting sort of lumpy bits in one place and not much out anywhere else. And it should keep the media moist in all places, not just in one, if you see what I mean. So that all of the roots should be able to take advantage of that. Right, so I'm just not compacting it, but just making sure it's settled in. Now we've got this bulb. I thought this bulb had 2 new growths. Oh no, it didn't have 2 new growths. Yes it did. Yes it did, I see them. Right, so we want the bulb near the middle and the new growths pointing towards the edge of the pot. And then it may be possible to leave them in the pot for next year, but it'll give them plenty of room. So this one's just going to go there. Just going to bury that root because it'll help hold it in place. So just poke that down with my finger. That root's going to die, don't worry about it. So that's one. And then we've got this tiny little bulb here. Just going to clean that up a bit. Get the sheaths off. You need to go careful when you're handling small bulbs like this, because those new growths will break off quite easily. And then they're gone. They don't get replaced. Talking of gone, those of you who follow the channel will know my Phalaenopsis live out on the kitchen windowsill. And last time when we did everything in bloom, we had a lovely mini phal that's a lovely yellow colour. It collapsed. Basically I picked it up because I thought I saw a mealybug on the bloom spike, and it just collapsed. The leaves just disintegrated, so the whole plant's just rotted. And you know I don't get my plants wet. So out of all those mini phals, 1, that was my favourite, and 2, it was the only one. So I've just lost the only yellow one I had. Now again, I'm pointing the new growths towards the edge of the pot, like that. And then we've got this tiny little bulbil that I'll just I'll wedge that between the two old bulbs and they should hold it in place. And then we just get some more media. We don't need the moss in it this time, and just gently go round so that the bulbs aren't buried, but there's enough media to sort of hold them in place. So there we go, that's it. It's not a big deal. So in theory we should have 5 leaves on in this pot. They're not very big because it's a species, but yeah, 2 growths and the bulbil. They should all produce a shoot with a leaf. Hopefully 1 or 2 of them will be flowers first. That remains to be seen. So yeah, just a quick bit of work, and the knowledge and information gained on the Pleiones is becoming quite extensive now, but it's not practical experience. It's not the same as been doing it for 10 years. But bearing in mind, a lot of people that have been doing it for 10 years have been doing it exactly the same, because whatever way they started doing it, that's what they do. And there may be some quirks or even some things that could be done better. So you watch other people, you listen to other people, and you accumulate all the information, and then what I do is I tend to average it. You know, more people say this than others. Is it logical what they're saying? Does it sound right? Yeah? Because sometimes you get misinformation on the internet and people start copying because they're either new to the subject or new to the genus or whatever, so they copy. You know, anything to get a video online. I don't do that, of course, much. Anyway, so that's got these, the species, the only one, into a pot that's of a suitable size for the growths to now expand, because basically if the 4 growths, not the bulbil, that won't do much this year, but if the 2 bulbs with both of their new growths, that's 4 new growths, if they grow to this size bulb this year, then that's that pot full. And then they will need putting in a bigger pot. So there we go, a quick Pleone repot and another chat, and I'll see you next time. I haven't managed to mention to Sarah yet that some people actually went to the Burnham's website based on the video that I did, or the videos that I did around that time, and actually got some Pleiones from Sarah to give them a try in some cases, which means it's probably their first time. And like I've said before, this is my first growing year. Last year I bought stuff in bloom, yeah? And the leaves came after the blooms and I looked after them, they all went dormant. This is my first growing year. This is the first year where I can see shoots coming up from, you know, the bottom of the media at the start of the season. So it will be a full season this time, right round till next year when we sort out whether they need to go in bigger pots or not. So there we go, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.